Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob at Super League Malibu. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas as fuels go longer, HOKA Let's Fly, deboer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, he is the team manager for the Warriors, still a professional triathlete and coach. Mr. Nick Chase joins us. Nick, how you doing?
I'm actually great. Finally, had 1 day of rest between travel, racing, and Cozumel and getting here. And it was a great drive.
So talk a little bit about, this season you're balancing. You were 7th at Cozumel and 12th at 70.3 Oregon and 4th at Ecuador, and just having a lot of racing, but at the same time traveling the world with the Warriors. That's a lot of balance.
The balance act is I put on a lot of hats. I think that's probably why I'll lose hair because of that. Until then, I'm holding on to this luscious haircut.
You're doing good there.
But I'd say growing this Real Triathlon Squad endeavor, bringing in partnerships. We knew it was important last year when I was getting involved with Super League to be part of this movement. This is going to be the most fun thing to watch, to have these athletes participate in, and then as a federation, as a USA Triathlon, if we can bring better athletes to the table, put more athletes on the podium at the Olympics, that's the ultimate goal in 2028. So we see the vision, we're building momentum, and that's why I've been working so hard and putting on so many hats to make this happen.
When you look at our history in the U.S., when Barb Lindquist identified Gwen Jorgensen and Katie Zafaris and Summer Rappaport as they were out of college. And they had swim-run background, and they learned to ride a bike. Gwen wins a gold medal. Katie's won a silver and a bronze. Summer's been to the games. But normally, that's not the way it works. And Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez, they start when they're 7, 8, 9 years old. And I'm guessing that's really the way you have to do it moving forward.
If you hear from any of these kids here, I call them that because they're 10, 15 years younger than I am. They've had this sport in their lifestyle as a child, and that hasn't happened except for a few of our Project Podium kids we've partnered with Project Podium to give them an opportunity at our Super League events that we're bringing to the table. So not our Super League events, but our participation. Right. So the goal is to allow Project Podium to have some opportunities to chisel out their men so we can get a more dominant men's proponent of our ITU and short course demographic. Right.
We're seeing more and more, like a Ben Canute comes from, he's been in the sport forever, right? We're seeing more and more of those guys. But when I interview the Europeans, there's no question they've been involved with the sport for forever.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of it, when you look at what's happened in the UK, once the UK got the Olympics in 2012, it's like, we got to show up well here.
Yeah.
And now look at all the French athletes who are kicking butt and taking names with 2024 in Paris. So it's like countries don't want to be embarrassed. We got 2028 in LA. And it's going to be important for the U.S. to show up well there.
I think our part in that is pretty firm. We're just trying to make sure the athletes have the experience to be not only just good athletes, but professional human beings, can take care of all the little things that add up to showing up on race day with better mindsets, better bodies, better just opportunities for the sport in the USA. And I think that's kind of our proof of concept also with the RTS Warriors this year is, let's see if we can build momentum and get triathlon a little bit more in the mainstream. Not ever planning to compete with the likes of the NBA or NFL. That's a completely different ballgame. But I'd say at least bringing it to those who maybe never would have had an opportunity to have the sport exposed to them. Right. If we can do that, if we can change a cross-country runner who's good at swimming into a good triathlete earlier in life and give them a great career and everything necessary, the transition period is going to be shorter, and we're going to have more success. So that's our goal. And Project Podium has been doing the legwork for the younger kids, giving them a college degree, professional experience with racing, and traveling the world, of course. That who can do that at the age of 18?
Yes.
So, and then we've got our veterans who we're very proud of. Of course, the women's side of our Warriors team is completely distinguished in the USA for their accomplishments in our, Seth and Chase. They're given a lot of strong examples for our men. And now we've got Morgan Pearson and Ben Canute this week for our home race here in the USA for Malibu Triathlon at Super League. And we're so excited that they they showed up and they agreed to come race with us.
Right, and Morgan just qualified for the Olympics.
Yeah,
once he
auto-qualified, he's like, why not? I got nothing to lose by coming out here. Not chasing points, not playing the federation points game.
Right.
So we're so excited he's here.
And Ben, who's moved on to longer distance, but this is his roots. This is where he started, from triathlon maniacs back when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Watching him race at the event in the Bahamas years ago and outsprint Sorenzo Bazzoni to Island House. Island House reminds me a lot of this.
Of course.
This type of format. And I didn't know he had that type of leg speed. But he did a lot of the early Super League. Yeah,
there's pictures of him with the plain basic Super League kits when this organization was kicked off the ground. Now we're in year 5.
Yes.
And he agreed to come back. He wanted to see how he could do. And I suspect Ben is still going to fire a great race off for us.
Team manager, what are your roles as team manager?
Team manager, I wish sometimes I was just racing. If I was to be very honest, like the amount of work.
It's a lot easier, right?
It is. That you just show up, you worry about yourself, and that's it, and your body. And I'm worried about, for sure, 10 athletes, their well-being, making sure that during the race I can assist them as a manager in transition, resetting their bikes, their shifting, their elastics. That is vital. It saves seconds every time they come in and out of transition and they know their bike is reset.
Right.
So I get to help with that, the coordination of all the events, and just being more of a liaison between Super League organization and
your athletes.
And our athletes. So I think we're trying to give them the best experience to create a community.
Right. Here is a little different. It's eliminator format plus surf. You're in Malibu, right? This is Ben Canute has spent some time in the surf. I'm not sure who else has from the Warriors, but it is a different game.
It is. We unfortunately will not have Taylor Spivey. She's still coming back from her injury that she's been kind of nursing along, and Ponte Vedra, I think, re-aggravated it. So we're hoping a fast recovery for Taylor and wish her the best.
Yes.
But she would have been the
defending champion.
Last year, I remember watching the swim happening, and she was backstroking as she was coming into the beach, waiting to time the surf. And then, of course, caught a wave.
Caught a wave all the way in.
So
cool.
the starting positions are always stressful for the athletes, stressful for me, because I have to pick where we set up on the pontoons.
Right.
But for this race,
no pontoon. You run in.
Yeah, you just run in.
Real triathlon.
And you could dive and get a great start, and then a wave could tumble you, and you're 10 feet back again.
Yes,
so it's a wash. Who knows what's going to happen?
And that's good TV.
It's great. I mean, last year we had some SEAL action with Vasco.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had all kinds of drama going on. Hopefully, everybody can keep their 2 wheels on the bike course.
Yes.
And not slide out. Of course, we want the Warriors especially. We got to keep everyone going fast.
So when did you get into the sport? Because I doubt if you came through a podium project type of thing.
Negative. This is why I kind of wanted to start the Real Triathlon Squad. Is when I became a professional athlete, it was when I was like my 24th year of age, and I had never done much. I just found I was really gifted once I did get out of the military or transition out of the U.S. Air Force and started doing this. So it was like, hey, you're gonna have an elite license. Go race Jan Frodeno at Oceanside for your first race, right? It was like, that was my trial by fire.
Oh my God.
So that was how I was like, what? I'm just going to spend 3 years getting my butt kicked. Like, that is absolutely how I have to play this game. And I did. I threw myself at every race, criteriums, ultra running. I did everything I can to learn. And the development asset really wasn't there. So that was part of my goal with creating Real Tri Squad, is create an opportunity for younger athletes, rookie pros, and then also veterans to earn a living wage, transition into the sport without having to just accumulate heaps of debt, network, and give them a better chance. And it gives the sport a better voice too. So that was why I wanted to do something different.
I look at this as a pretty cool era for triathlon, because you've got Super League, you've got World Triathlon, you've got
PTO.
You've got PTO. We have 70.3. We've got the full. People can make a living and not ever do a full Ironman, which was not true a number of years ago.
Absolutely.
Unless you were Alistair Brownlee and Javier Gomez, but very few could just make a living at that shorter distance. You agree that this is a great era?
This is, in my perspective, where we're starting to hit critical opportunities for growth. Europe has been ahead of us in a lot of ways.
Way ahead, yeah.
And I think for the USA, this is when all the hard work from Ironman over the years to develop their brand has transitioned a lot of overflow into everywhere else we can curate. And triathlon as a lifestyle is more just taking off, not just the Ironman brand, but
No.
just the endurance lifestyle.
Yep.
And that's been transitioned to gravel, to mountain biking, and there's like a common language, and that could be triathlon. If you ever
Right.
want to do your single sports, you can still go do those, but triathlon, if you want to come out here, it's a different level of hardness,
Yeah, exactly.
putting it all together in one day. So the triathlon growth is happening right now.
Do you see the NCAA program, the USA Triathlon, which is, I think, 40 colleges, 9 women, and that's supposed to be a feeder program for the U.S. How do you think that is working?
I think there's a gap. I think that there was, between all the COVID stuff and, we're looking at, on our Warriors team, we have like the best women triathletes in USA outside of, Taylor Nibb's not included,
Right.
Gwen Jorgensen's not here, but we've got some of the best.
Yep.
And if I was to look at the depth, I'd like to see that get longer. I want that list to be longer.
Yes, I do too,
I want
yes.
the talent pool to be deeper.
Yep.
So I hope the NCAA sequence can do that. Now, I haven't heard from a lot of the athletes personally, but I think, from my opinion, it seems like they just need a little bit more community,
Yes.
a little bit more of a challenge sometimes. They need some better management within
Yes.
the programs. And I think USAT can step up and support them a little bit more individually rather than just giving them that opportunity and then kind of them making their way
Right.
through it. There's growth, and I'm sure it's going to happen.
Right.
But I think the NCAA program still needs time to fill in the gaps and develop that depth that
It
we're
probably
looking for.
needs, people needs to be somebody identifying some of the athletes from the different colleges.
Yeah,
and
we
say,
gotta
"Okay,
recruit."
We got to recruit and say, okay, you're doing great. Let's get you in a Super League event. Let's get
Yes.
you into, you should start to be New World Triathlon. You need to get there.
I've said this a couple of other times, so I don't think this is the first time it's been out there, but I think if we created like an arena games for the collegiate era,
Yes, great idea.
that would be something very simple. Collegiate athletes already have the facilities to set up this situation. If we had 3 or 4 regional events and then a championship within the collegiate world, all these clubs, all the male non-NCAA athletes could be supported through that
Yes.
as well. But the female athletes would get a chance to see what they're up against, and then we invite in internationals and then
Right.
really see what we're up against. So
Exactly.
I think we've got to start giving them opportunities to show their stuff.
Exactly.
And just,
In terms of growth, this is a fun topic for me. But in
Yeah.
terms of growth of the sport, I look at the NCAA program and say that's great. But the program I would be investing in more in terms of getting age groupers into our sport is the collegiate clubs. Because you got 150 kids at Berkeley who love our sport. And you come out to these collegiate races, and there's UC Irvine and USC and UCLA, and they're all cheering. They love our sport. And those guys are going to fill up our corrals for the next 20, 30 years. And they're going to have the wherewithal financially to do that.
Yes.
So I look at that in terms of growth as I would be investing more in that than, NCAA is great, but I think the future is the clubs.
I could not agree more. We've got to support the collegiate athletes who right now at a club level are self-funding.
Totally.
Don't have the gear.
Nope.
Have to beg for swim time at the pool because the swim team is taking up everything and doesn't want to concede. We got to let these track coaches understand, or these cross-country coaches understand, that their athletes are pursuing triathlon, and so you got to give them some freedom to go swim.
Right.
So we need the collective swim, bike, run masterminds come together and have some flexibility when we identify and recruit these athletes that they could do something else, and you got to be okay with it. You got to let them grow.
And I think that a lot of the collegiate coaches need to understand if your athlete is swimming and riding, they're going to become a better runner. Right?
That's proof.
There's proof to that, right? We saw Gwen out of college running faster when she was running half the mileage that she'd been running in college. So we know that works. But if you're a collegiate track coach, you're like, all I want you to do is run. And then that's why you end up like a Chelsea Sodero with 6 stress fractures.
Yeah.
Rather than she was rehabbing using swim and ride to help her stay healthy for running, and ends up going and winning the Ironman.
Yes.
So we know that there's something there.
Yeah, I think for sure that's going to be happening more and more, especially since we're getting the message out there. The athletes are starting to pay more attention. Look at the influx of funds that have been put in the sport, and I think that sets precedent to say this is not going anywhere. It's a big deal, and you can get involved and make a living. You can go to the Olympics. or you can do both.
Yes.
You don't really have to choose one or the other anymore.
Well, I think one perfect example, Tamara Jewett,
Yeah.
is one of your athletes,
She
correct?
is, yeah.
And just watching her starting as a pure runner and just watching her grow over time and seeing her in Oceanside and just seeing her perform at the highest level on the biggest stage, that has to make you feel pretty proud because you identified her very early.
It was actually not me personally. Jackson Laundrie was one who said, we need to talk to Tamara. And I was like, you're right. Let's see if she wants to be part of it. She waited a year after we kind of were more established, and we could not be happier for our entire team to support each other. We through the thick and thin. Jackson had a couple of off races, but he can lean on us during those periods of time, and we're not going to penalize him or think less of him.
Right.
That's the best part about triathlon. I tell all the athletes I coach, doesn't matter really what happens on the day. You're still going to be the hero for being there.
Right.
If you show up and you start, people are going to respect you no matter what.
Exactly.
Because anything can happen. But Tamara specifically, she's working with big agencies now. We're trying to do more for her. I think she can be a world champion in the next couple of years. We're just working on some of her bike. She's going to be working on some of her bike aero testing, CDA drag reduction. She's getting her head fully engaged in this sport.
I love it. Yeah. Congrats on everything you're doing, Nick.
Thank you so much.
I think it's really cool how well-rounded everything is going full circle, and the U.S. needs to become a bigger factor on the world stage, and I think you're helping to make that happen.
If we can do anything at all, it is just going to be to give those athletes who didn't have a voice a bigger platform to grow and influence their audience to come along.
Love it. Go Warriors.
Go Warriors, right? Thanks.
Again, Breakfast with Bob. We're at Super League Malibu. Hold on. We will be right back.